Hello, my name is Logan Corelli. I'm a 2D animation peer tutor at RMCAD, and in this video we'll be exploring lip sync animations. Animating mouths is something that a lot of people find very difficult. I certainly did before starting this project, so I think this video can be very beneficial to RMCAD animators. Now, I'm a student, I'm not a professional animator. This video won't be a perfect guide to lip sync. Rather, it'll be me looking at lip sync resources, trying to find best practices and commonality between different styles, and implementing those in my work. Hopefully I can share some helpful tips in doing so. First, I'll describe the different styles of TV and film animation that require different amounts of mouth drawings. Then, I'll try and find some bits of lip sync advice. I'll look at a few short form animations from social media that do lip sync especially well or poorly, and then I'll apply that knowledge to a lip sync animation of my own. We can start by looking at some different types of lip sync and see how many individual drawings each one calls for. Animatic is the simple style that I usually do, with only 1 to 2 drawings per sentence. I won't be looking at this one because it's not really lip sync, and as a storyboarder, you're probably already doing it. Most anime uses a distinctively loose lip sync style, reusing only 3 to 4 drawings to emphasize each syllable. No attention is paid to the specific mouth shape, just whether it's open or shut. These mouths are usually pretty detailed to make up for the low quantity of drawings. Similar to anime, mid-century modern animation, seen on television in the 60s and 70s, used a handful of universal open and shut mouths, but they typically had an additional rounded ooh mouth. Most contemporary cartoons, animated series from the 2010s and onward, have a few more mouth shapes, often using distinct f and l noises. The teeth and tongues typically move in a more defined way. And fully animated films, like those from the Disney Renaissance, use an entirely new drawing every 1 or 2 frames. Obviously, there's tons of variance when it comes to these, but you can take that list as a starting point for the style you want to achieve. Now, if you look up guides to animating lip sync, you will find tons of these phoneme charts, images that show what mouth shapes go with what mouth noises. And this is not a bad starting point, but ultimately they don't show you how these mouth shapes should be timed or exaggerated. For that, we're going to have to look, unsurprisingly, to the Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams. Naturally, there's a lot of important info in the chapter on animating dialogue, but I want to focus on a couple key takeaways. One is that not all sounds are created equal. Pay attention to where the emphasis of each sentence or word is. If one word is said louder or slower, or with more distinct vowels and consonants, you typically want to really snap into it. When a character says bang, or mall, or pool, or anything like that, you go straight from shut mouth to wide mouth. You pop into it. Naturally, if we want to sell that snap, you need anticipation, which is why closed mouths need at least 2 frames to register to the audience. Tongue movements, on the other hand, are quick enough to be drawn in just 1 frame. And it also mentions some pretty intuitive stuff like moving the bottom of the mouth more than the top, because the jaw moves during speech and the top of the mouth doesn't. The book references Jim Henson's Muppets as an example because, they're puppets. They can't make precise lip movements, but it doesn't really matter. Their mouth movements emphasize the emotion and they complement the body language. And that's why these phoneme charts are good reference points, but focusing on recreating precise phonemes alone can make for kind of stilted animation. The emphasis is usually more important than exact mouth shapes. As always, I'd recommend checking out the Animator's Survival Kit for yourself. There's quite a bit more info in that chapter. That's just the stuff I found most useful. And finally, I want to take a look at 3 examples from some really talented animators on social media. All of these clips are from Blue Sky. Sable Citrus recently posted this amazing little animation. I hear the thunder calling me. It's a great example of making non-human mouth shapes. All the neutral open mouth poses are virtually identical. The I and ah and I and E are basically the same. It's the consonants that are more important here. And like Williams recommended, you have that anticipation and snap into every wide mouth syllable. If you're looking to animate a more animalistic character, this is a great reference. Next, there's this little dialogue test from FTK Artist.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about that, right? I was thinking about something spacey, like that Star Wars.
Very clean and well animated and snappy. I bring it up because in the comments, she gives some of the only advice I could find from a professional animator about dialogue other than Williams. She says to visualize the sounds a couple frames earlier than you think you should. I didn't incorporate that advice into my work, but I think it's worth noting it could be a good tactic. Okay, editor's note, this piece of advice is also in the Animator Survival Kit. I accidentally skipped over that page. It's not an absolute rule, but yeah, sometimes you should push the sound earlier. And we have this animated phoneme chart from animator Kiki Flipnote. You've almost definitely seen his work if you ever spent any amount of time on Twitter. For the most part, he's a great animator with a very bouncy, distinctive style. That said, I think this tutorial is a pretty clear example of what not to do when animating lip sync and the problems that come up when you stick strictly to these kinds of phoneme charts. You have some over-enunciation on the thank you and under-enunciation on the very much. When the character says thank you, there's no real snap into the A or oo, so there's no emphasis. It all feels very slow and floaty, whereas the very much just goes by way too quickly. Very is contracted into just one syllable. If you say very, your jaw only goes down once when you say ve, but your lips still define that re sound, and this doesn't do that. Moving on to the much, he only holds on that shut mouth for one frame, which isn't enough. It doesn't create anticipation for the muh sound. In fact, it almost reads as a mistake. And finally, I think he uses the wrong mouth shape for the sound. Usually has a pretty neutral mouth shape, whereas this is a full-on O or oo shape. It doesn't look right. So yeah, just be sure to take these kinds of phoneme charts with a grain of salt. I will be animating to an audio clip from Sweeney Todd, specifically the end of the song A Little Priest. I like animating to music, and that song has some of my favorite vocalizations in the show, so I think it'll be a good clip to work off of. Rather than animating a normal Sweeney Todd singing it, I'm going to animate a bear. This doesn't really have to do with anything about lip sync, but I'm animating a bear on another project of mine, and I could use the practice. The first thing I did on this was to just map out the syllables of the song so I have some visual reference for the timing. After this, I did this base sketch of the bear, who has some movements synced to the song. I'll play that clip for you now so you know what we're working off.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
After making that baseline animation, I created this static reference for the mouth. That way I could animate several passes in different styles before landing on one to animate frame by frame on the bear. Obviously this is a lot of work to put into lip sync. A reference like this usually isn't necessary, but since this exercise is all about the mouth, I don't want the head movement distracting from it until the very end. First, I just did it freehand, trying not to reuse too many mouth shapes, not until he starts repeating the anyone lyric.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
This is how I've done my lip sync in the past, this time taking the survival kit into consideration, and it's fine. It feels a little loose in places, but there are a couple of really nice mouth movements. When he says from small, that looks really nice and smooth. Next, I did an anime pass, just doing some simple open and shut mouth shapes.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
mid-century modern style, I just duplicated the anime animation, added some ooh shapes, and slightly changed the shut mouth.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
And I added some th and l sounds for the modern cartoon pass.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
I really like the timing of the cartoon pass, and I like the expressiveness of the initial pass, so I used them both as reference for the final animation. I also smoothed out the character animation. I added color and a simple background just to tie it together, and there we are.
We'll not discriminate great from small. No, we'll serve anyone, meaning anyone, and to everyone at all.
So what did we learn? We learned that in most cases, you don't need 100% accuracy. It doesn't take too many mouth shapes to make something work for most purposes. If you're doing something like this, where the mouth really needs to be expressive, you can always use those standard mouth shapes to work out the timing, and then it's pretty easy to transfer that onto the character and add some expressiveness. I hope you all got something out of this, and I encourage you to practice lip sync yourself. I'd like to make this a series, so if you have any aspects of 2D animation that you want me to cover, please leave a comment. If you're a RMCAD student, you can also reach out to me directly through RMCAD Connect. There are a ton of tutors there ready to help you with whatever you need, not just 2D animation. Until next time, keep animating and have fun.